It happens every second Wednesday here on the Country 93.3 Morning Show. McMurray Musings joining me live in studio, and that is Teresa Wells. How you doing, Teresa?
Good, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, you can catch Teresa at McMurrayMusings.com. Well, what about, you get her on Facebook, Twitter too, right?
You bet. It's just McMurray Musings on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter at McMurray Musings as well.
Okay, let's start talking about some stuff that happened here at Fort McMurray. I know that you've got a big article, and this is several inputs long, on Canada Rocks. I had a time. I know you had a time.
Had a wonderful time. Spent all 3 days working backstage, doing artist hospitality. Had a fabulous 3 days. The last day in particular, working with Doc Walker, Corblund, and Blue Rodeo was just an absolute joy for me. What great guys to work with. Awesome show that evening. It was just a fabulous way to end out the weekend.
Well, you know, I've had a chance to party with Doc Walker on a couple of different occasions. Really down to earth, and just, I mean, you can tell they're in it for the fun and the love of the music.
Absolutely. Great guys. I really enjoyed. I watched a good part of Blue Rodeo with Doc Walker up in the VIP boxes, and it was a great time. It was really fun.
Now, the one that I had never seen before is Corblund.
Yes.
He looks like a walking cartoon, that guy.
He's a sweetheart. He's a really, really nice guy. Just sort of one of those country gentleman types. Very much sort of reminded me of a George Canyon type. Mm-hmm. Just a great guy.
And, of course, at the end of it, Blue Rodeo. They're consummate professionals. They've been around since I was about 18, I think. And these guys really broke into Canadian country music, especially in the Toronto scene.
They absolutely did. They were coming up on the Toronto scene when I was living in Toronto, so it was fabulous to see them again. I had a chance to chat with them a little bit about the old days back in Toronto and how some of the people we know in common are now members of Parliament, which we never expected them to end up being. And it was great. They put on a terrific show, as always. They're just professionals.
Now let's talk about Highway 63 recommendations, because I know that you were on Alberta Primetime talking about this, as well on some other radio stations in Edmonton talking about this. What about the Highway 63 recommendations that came from MLA Mike Allen?
You know, I have to commend Mike for engaging the public and doing public consultations, talking to the stakeholders about Highway 63. I think he did a terrific job, and I think many of the recommendations that came out are absolutely terrific in terms of stiffer penalties, changing the culture of driving on the 63. The biggest issue for me remains the timeline. One of the timelines they've been looking at is an 8-year timeline, which I don't think is acceptable. I'd like to see a commitment that it's going to be fully twinned by the end of 2017.
Well, you know, it's kind of weird, because I was paying attention. I was on Highway 63 on the weekend. I was in Edmonton, and coming back, there's a sign that says completion date 2013, and I'm thinking, hey, that'd be awesome if we get this done by next year. But that was like, that sign's been up for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the time has come. The highway needs to be completed because we are looking at exponential population growth in a very short time frame. So we need to expedite it.
That we do. And as well, Fort McMurray Reads. What's this? It's a great program at the Public Library.
Yeah, it's coming out of the Fort McMurray Public Library. It's based on CBC's Canada Reads program. So basically, they ask a few people within the community to champion a certain book. And at the end of August 25th, we actually sort of debate style which book we're championing to be the book that everyone in Fort McMurray should read this year. The book I've chosen is called Shoeless Joe. It's by author W.P. Kinsella. And if you've seen the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, that movie was based on this book.
How are you reading a book about a shoeless guy?
Someone has noticed the irony in the title, and yes, there was kind of an inside joke when I picked that one. It's a fabulous book. It's been one of my favorite books ever since I read it basically 20 years ago.
It's a great movie too, Field of Dreams.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about stuff coming up in Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray Feelings, what's that all about?
That's a book project that I'm working on with Todd Ski from YMM Podcast and Roddy Cross, who's a local zombie novel author. We're asking submissions from the public for stories of life in Fort McMurray, their take on life in Fort McMurray. And we're looking for anything, whether it's positive or negative, as long as it's true to your experience of living in Fort McMurray. And what we'd like to do is publish it in an ebook this fall to sort of reflect the experience of those who live in Fort McMurray.
All right, and just really quickly, we can touch on this. Fort McMurray establishment is going to be no more established. We've only got 30 seconds. What about that?
Diggers is being torn down, and I know that there's a lot of people that are sad to see the end of an icon, and I understand that. But change means that things do change, and that means that our city center is going to change. This is all sort of going to come together as the city center revitalization plan takes place.
All right. Once again, you can reach Teresa at
McMurrayMusings.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at McMurray Musings.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining me in the studio again, Teresa.
Thanks a lot, Jerry.
That is Teresa Wells from McMurray Musings talking about events in Fort McMurray.